Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Locke in Your Success Trade and Market Update for December 16th, 2012. If you remember last week, we were talking about the markets going higher, and they did exactly that out of the gate Monday and Tuesday. And from there, if we look at the SPX, proceeded to sell off Thursday and Friday. Back into a support level. We did break under the level I figured it would retest, and this here makes things a little bit more or less clear where the market's going to go from here. So we do have more major support down here at the we get up to the 1400 level or a little bit higher. This whole range, I wouldn't be surprised to see a turn in the market anywhere in there. I wouldn't even be surprised to see a turn in the market here. Overall, technically, I would say that I am still bullish, although a test of the 1400 level is not out of the question at this point, since this did not hold. The reality is this is more or less going to be completely a news-driven event. We have this fiscal cliff thing happening. I don't think you're going to see a real breakout in the market to the upside until we get some sort of resolution on this. It doesn't have to be a complete resolution, it just has to be the anticipation of a resolution. At that point, the technicals are going to take over and probably push the markets higher, but until then, I would expect just a little bit of chop. The Dow is the same thing. Very, very bullish pattern on the Dow. We have a nice cup here. We're sitting in a handle. When the market decides it wants to go, it's poised to go higher. So this is a bullish pattern here. NASDAQ, on the other hand, has gone into a sideways movement. We've come into a sideways channel. So this is a little bit of divergence that we're seeing in the marketplace, and always the first sign of a reversal. But again, as I say, this is going to be, which way this breaks is going to be news driven. If we look at the Russell, we have the same thing, very bullish pattern. We have the cup. I expected this to hold here at about 825. It did not, but we have a lot of support in this whole area, so not too concerned about that. And again, I think it's just jitters from this fiscal cliff thing. Once we get this resolved, then we're probably going to run to the upside. And in the event it doesn't happen, we'll have to see. Things could get a little bit interesting to the downside. And always, we are also looking at Apple. As we were saying, Apple came into this more major trend line last week, or a couple of weeks ago, and we were retesting it. I expected a bounce off of here. Didn't get the bounce we expected again, and still that could be with the market jitters with what's going on. We did break this line, this trend line, by the end of the week. We are expected to retest these bottoms, which we did. From here, we could go either way. So we'll have to wait and see here. Basically, if Apple breaks down through these levels, that's technically pretty bearish. We don't have a heck of a lot of support here until, maybe a touch here, but not a heck of a lot till we get down to the 430 area. So this could get pretty ugly if we break to the downside, and we'll have to watch this. And this may be a leading indicator to which way the market's going, because if Apple really breaks down, the NASDAQ's going to really break down. It's going to pull everything with it. So we'll have to take a look at that. If Apple does bounce this low area here, and it may penetrate. It's not uncommon to have a flush out. You see this here. Here was our old support level here and here, which is about 515. We had a flush out, and then the market ran to the upside. Wouldn't be uncommon to come down here, flush it out, and run to the upside either. However, if we do pull down under here, we get a bounce, this level holds, and we continue down, that's probably going to be pretty bearish for the markets in general. And this is the guy to watch here. Alright, so in general, I think we're going to be in limbo till we get some sort of a decision, or if we come up into the end of the year and no decision is made, then you'll probably see a little bit of a sell-off, because people are going to get a little bit nervous that the government isn't going to do anything, and we know the consequences of that. However, we're probably going to get something, sort of a short-term agreement that's going to kick the can down the road, as they normally do. Alright, let's take a look at our positions. Right here we have the December M3 position. Right now we have after hours, so the line's kind of goofy. but in general this position is up around $400, which for the original size of the position is very little. It's basically a break even. We may pull a small profit out of this, and I'm just kind of hanging in here, seeing if it does anything. We may expire this, or if I get sick of it, I might just close it out. But it's just something we're goofing around with. On Friday, what I did is I added another vertical in here. There were a couple. Go back and look at the updates. There were a couple updates during the week. I threw some verticals at this, and just to start taking off some upside risk. And on Friday, which I did not post yet, we bought another 820, 830 vertical, which is this one here. And then these puts at 790 are down to around $1. They were $1.20, but I bought one of these back. So as this market, if it continues to just kind of sit here and do nothing, I am going to continue to vertical this off and pull this upside risk. In doing so, I'm going to create downside risk. I'm going to pull the downside risk off by buying these puts back. And they're going to get cheaper and cheaper. So I think they're posted at $1 now. If we get any kind of up move on Monday and Tuesday or even Wednesday, then these things are going to go down to 50 cents or something, and they're just not worth keeping on. So you just start pulling those down and you start extending these out. And worst comes to worst, we're probably looking at either an expiration with a break even, or maybe a very small loss if we get a big gap. If we get a real big gap, we may end up getting up into here somewhere, but I don't think you'll see that. If we get a big gap, we're probably going to land right in the hole. So what we'll do is we'll just continue to vertical this out and pull this hole away. So that's that position there. We're just goofing around with that. The bearish butterfly. For December, I actually closed that trade. I did post it. I ended up taking a small loss on that. I think it was on Thursday or possibly Wednesday. I'd have to go back and look, but if we take a look at that trade, it closed. I had a lot of commissions because we had a lot of rolling around. Without commissions, it lost $335, which is about break even. Again, this was a $50,000 trade, so even with all the commissions we had, after closing, it was a loss of $855. What was that, like a little over 1%, maybe between 1% and 2%. So this is nothing, and I'm perfectly happy to get out of here. This close to expiration with that kind of a loss and the type of month we had. So this is where we were sitting, and I like when we get down into the peak of my T+0 line. I see this as having a lot of risk, so I just decided to pull this off and not worry about it. Sometimes you're better off just taking a small loss, especially we have this news event looming and so forth. Didn't want to risk coming out and having a 20-point gap, and I just didn't see a need to take a $10,000 loss for a potential of $3,000 or $4,000 here. So it didn't make sense to me. So I just closed the position out. My opportunities are much better out in January. So that was the end of that. Small loss for the month. Let's look at the bearish butterfly for January. With the blast up in the markets last week, we were initially here at 790. We did have a delta theta ratio problem earlier in the week. We decided not to roll it until we hit 830. With the blast up on Monday and Tuesday, we did exceed that 830 level. So I sold out the 790, rolled up to 810 as we said we were going to do, came in and added in 830, and this is what the position looks like now. It is at about break even, slightly under. If I pull the commissions out here, yeah, we're slightly under break even. So this is doing fine, and we'll have to see where the market goes. If we do get a resolution to the fiscal cliff, this could, and it really takes off, then we could have fun chasing this thing. But we'll have to see how it goes. If we do not, then of course we'll be goofing around to the downside. So all looks good so far. We'll see how that goes. I also entered the M3 trade for January, but I didn't enter a whole thing. I entered half of it. I'm going to double size, and I'm just kind of waiting until I drop out of the December position. I like the entry. We entered when the market was up here at 835, 836. Came in, bought 5 800 put butterflies for $12.75. I was quite a bit behind the market. I was 35, almost 40 points behind when I bought it. And again, we have this fiscal cliff thing coming on. I am expecting some sort of a fairly violent reaction out of that. I wanted to give myself a little bit of downside room in case the market decides it really wants to come down. And obviously, if it shoots up, it wasn't that big of a deal. I do not trust this D plus zero line right now, simply because it's after hours and we don't really trust Thinkorswim anyway with that type of stuff. So here's our position, stuff like $150, and I will enter or double size it when we close out the other one. It may end up being next Monday and not this Monday if I expire it, because sometimes we don't get the money back till sometime late in the afternoon. And it's going to depend on my schedule whether I actually get into the rest of this or not. But we shall see. So as far as the markets go, I'd say we're kind of in limbo to see what happens with the with Congress and the White House, to see if we can solve the fiscal cliff thing. And for now, we're just kind of marking time with our January positions, and got that December M3, which is going to be exited either by myself or through expiration by the end of the week. All right, have a great week, everybody. I will keep you updated with any changes. Thank you, and good night.